Welcome to the Top 10 at 10. I'm your host, Dan Wright, writer at FireDogLake.com. The day is May the 13th, 2014. These are the top 10 stories. No mother. Bleep, 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 bleep. Okay, let's try that again. There we go. Story number 10. This is from GQ, The Man Who Knows Too Much. Which is an interview of, or I guess a piece on Glenn Greenwald. Glenn Greenwald is trying to lose 15 pounds. Quote, it's been a little crazy these past 9 months, he says, and I will eat French fries or potato chips if they're in front of me. On his porch, perched on a jungle mountaintop in Rio, the morning is fresh. Greenwald, in board shorts and a collared sleeve shirt, has done his daily hours worth of yoga and attached himself to one of his 5 laptops as his dozen dogs yap and wag. To put it simply, Greenwald has had one hell of a dizzying run. The Bourne plot line is familiar now. In late 2012, a shady contact calling himself Cincinnatus reached out via email with the urgent desire to reveal some top secret documents. As a blogger, author, and relentless commentator on all things related to the NSA, Greenwald had been here before. He figured it was a setup or a nut job and discarded the message. Okay. Discarded the message. The source then contacted Greenwald's friend Laura Poitras, an Academy Award-nominated documentary filmmaker, and sent along a sample of encrypted documents. Poitras got in touch with Greenwald immediately. Not only did this seem like a potential jackpot, she said, but Cincinnatus wouldn't go ahead until Greenwald had been looped in. Soon, per the source's instructions, they were on a plane to Hong Kong. Greenwald and Poitras did exactly as they were told, showing up at the Mira Hotel at 10:20 a.m. on June 3rd in front of a giant plastic alligator, looking for a man holding a Rubik's Cube. But I thought he would be a 60-year-old senior NSA guy, says Greenwald. And then there's this pale string beanie kid with glasses looking all of 20-something. This, of course, was a 29-year-old NSA contractor, Edward Snowden. Once they retired to his hotel room, he turned over an estimated tens of thousands of documents, the vast majority of them classified top secret. Okay, tens of thousands is not 1.7 billion or whatever the government claimed is. Comprising arguably the biggest leak of classified material in U.S. history. So this is a good, interesting breakdown of the story. And then there's the interview part. So good long piece here in GQ on Glenn Greenwald if you're interested. Story number 9. Mapping 3 decades of rising inequality state by state. Income inequality has risen considerably in the United States and across the entire advanced world. This is from the Atlantic. Most research has focused on the growing inequality within and across nations. What's less clear is to what degree income inequality has grown across different parts of the U.S. This is from Richard Florida, who, for those who don't know, was one of the people who said that this wouldn't happen. He's now changed his tune. With the help of my Martin Prosperity Institute, he's selling something. I should have figured that out. But the map below sort of shows 1970. By 2012, the map as a whole has clearly gotten much darker, indicating increased inequality across the board. Okay. But now the states within the highest levels of inequality, 10 of them plus DC, are those with more advanced knowledge-based economies. Oh, so the creative class actually made things worse. Whoops. Oh, fail. Richard Florida, just a fail. Story number 8. This is from the Washington Post. New AP guidelines keep it brief. This is a short news article about how news articles are becoming shorter. Oh, you're so clever. Oh my God. The world's largest independent news organization, the Associated Press, for one, has told its journalists to cut the fat and keep their stories between 300 and 500 words, a length in which this story would easily fit. It's 500 words max on just about every one of the 2,000 or so stories AP journalists report each day. Wow, 500. That's it. Exceptions: AP has told its reporters that the top one or two stories in each state may run between 500 and 700 words, and the top global stories of the day may be practically Bulgarian 700 plus words. Reporters in AP's newly expanded investigative unit will be permitted to bust the limits. Why? The news service says many of its members, 15,000 or so newspapers, websites, and radio and TV stations around the world, lack the staff to trim stories to fit their shrinking news holes. Sounded vaguely dirty. What's more, AP says readers can get turned off by longer stories. They don't read. Okay, whatever. We need to be more disciplined. Oh, God. Okay, so we're slowly entering the the new age of short. Some of it just be images, right? Why even have a story? Story number 7. A nightmare becoming a reality. Iran unveils American drone replica. Iran captured a U.S. stealth surveillance drone in 2011 and started working to reverse engineer its own. Yesterday, it unveiled what it claims is a replica plus bombing capabilities. Ha! This is one way to do technology transfers. Have drones crash, and then the enemy can reverse engineer them. This is from the Christian Science Monitor. Iran has unveiled its own copy of an American stealth drone it captured in late 2011, claiming to have cracked the, quote, secrets of the bat-wing craft and added weapon capabilities. Today, Fars news agency reported that while Iran's duplicate of the U.S. RQ-170 Sentinel drone was smaller, it also had a bombing capability to attack the U.S. warships in any possible battle. The story in Persian was headlined, "America's Nightmare Has Become Reality." State television footage showed on Sunday that the U.S. aircraft was of the U.S. aircraft carrier the Persian Gulf, filmed by an Iranian drone. The drone replica was unveiled at an Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps exhibition on Sunday, where Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was briefed on how the drone, its systems, and structure had been reverse engineered. He called it a sweet day. Great. Now everyone can get a drone. Are we all happy with even developing this technology? With nuclear weapons, and then the Soviets get them, and there's a standoff, and et cetera, et cetera. And by the way, the having a drone do this really takes down the human cost of getting a pilot to do crazy things. Now you can just have a drone do it. Good times. Story number 6. Chamber of Commerce gives ultimatum to GOP. The GOP shouldn't even field a presidential candidate in 2016 unless Congress passes immigration reform this year, U.S. Chamber of Commerce President Tom Donahue said Monday. If the Republicans don't do it, they shouldn't bother to run a candidate in 2016. Donahue joked at an event on infrastructure and investment. Think about that. Think about who the voters are. I just did that to get everybody's attention. Republicans have focused on an immigration overhaul as a way to woo Hispanic voters who have increasingly drifted to Democrats over the past 2 election cycles. Growing Hispanic populations in Nevada, Texas, and elsewhere could make those states more amenable to Democrats in the future. Donahue, whose group has spent months pushing House Republicans to support immigration legislation, was speaking about what he thought a dysfunctional Congress could still get done in 2014. Yeah, good luck. So apparently they want immigration reform now. They're sick of having a slave workforce? I guess. Story number 5. It's just interesting. Just putting this in here for the hell of it. The pyramid of journalism competence. What journalists need to know. This from Pointer. This is pretty hilarious because as you read the chart in the slide sheet, you realize so few journalists know this stuff. So you need to have judgment, storytelling, critical thinking, evidence, audio visuals, technology, numeracy, civics, culture, and a mission and a purpose. Each one of those is broken down in the slides, and I'm thinking a lot of them don't know any of this. So And it gives a good breakdown here of news judgment and also sort of recommended coursework for people that go to journalism school. Don't do that. It's stupid. Story number 4. Found after 500 years, the wreck of Christopher Columbus's flagship, the Santa Maria. Well, better late than never. More than 5 centuries after Christopher Columbus's flagship, the Santa Maria, was wrecked in the Caribbean, archaeological investigators think they may have discovered the vessel's long-lost remains lying at the bottom of the sea off the north coast of Haiti. It's likely to be one of the world's most important underwater archaeological discoveries. All the geographical underwater topography and archaeological evidence strongly suggests that this wreck is Columbus's famous flagship, the Santa Maria, said the leader of a recent reconnaissance expedition to the site, one of America's top underwater archaeological investigators, Barry Clifford. So, tentatively identifying the wreck as the Santa Maria has been made possible by quite separate discoveries made by other archaeologists in 2003, suggesting the probable location of Columbus's fort relatively nearby. Okay, so the fort's nearby, therefore they're thinking this wreck, which I guess they're going to date. I imagine that's possible. The time period, and they think it's the Santa Maria. Armed with this new information about the location of the fort, Clifford was able to use data in Christopher Columbus's diary to work out where the wreck should be. There you go. Story, let's see. Story number 3. Karl Rove, Hillary Clinton might have brain injury. Okay. Republican strategist Karl Rove suggested last week that Hillary Clinton suffers from brain damage. The New York Post page 6 section reported Monday that Rove, appearing at a conference with former Obama spokesman Robert Gibbs and CBS correspondent Dan Raviv last Thursday, recently waded into the former Secretary of State's health issues. In 2012, Clinton, the top possible 2016 Democratic contender, suffered from a blood clot that temporarily prevented her from testifying about the attacks on the U.S. consulate in Benghazi. According to the report, Rove said Benghazi issue should continue to be pushed. 30 days in the hospital, Rove said, according to the report. And then when she reappears, she's wearing glasses that are only for people who have traumatic brain injury. We need to know what's up with that. Oh, man. Karl Rove, still being Karl Rove. After an initial trip to the hospital for medical tests, Clinton was later admitted for 3 days to a hospital in New York City. At the time, several Republicans questioned whether Clinton's health problems were valid. Oh, that's right. There was a sort of, this is fake. So people have time to come up with a story. Well, 2016 is, here we are. Story number 2. More insured, but the choices are narrowing. In the midst of all the turmoil in healthcare these days, one thing is becoming clear: no matter what kind of health plan consumers choose, they will find fewer doctors and hospitals in their network, or pay much more for the privilege of going to any provider they want. These so-called narrow networks, featuring limited groups of providers, have made a big entrance on the newly created state insurance exchanges, where they are a common feature in many of the plans. While the size of the networks vary considerably, many plans now exclude at least some large hospitals or doctors groups. Smaller networks are also becoming more common in healthcare coverage offered by employers and in private Medicare Advantage plans. Insurers ranging from the national behemoths like WellPoint, United Healthcare, and Aetna to much smaller local carriers are fully embracing the idea, saying narrower networks are essential to controlling costs and managing care. Major players contend they can avoid the uproar that crippled a similar push in the 1990s. Well, this is a pretty key argument going on right now, which is that yes, people are getting insured, but then doctors are opting out of certain plans, so they're not in your network anymore, or the insurance company is recutting the network. We are trying to quote. Quote: "We have to break people away from the choice habit that everyone has," said Marcus Mers, the chief executive of Preferred One, an insurer in Golden Valley, Minnesota, that is owned by 2 healthcare systems and a physicians group. Quote, we're all trying to break away from this fixation on open access with broad networks. Something I think people like. People like to have a broad network, but under the system, that may not be something they can do, according to the New York Times. And the number 1 story, Okay, that crashed. Glacier is melting in Antarctica past the point of no return. It's from yours truly at Fire Dog Lake, and yet another sign that climate change is unstoppable. Key glaciers in Antarctica are reportedly beyond the point of no return. Their destruction means scientists will have to once again revise their projections upward for how high sea levels are likely to rise. The glaciers known as the West Antarctic Ice Sheet could cause a 10 to 13-foot rise in sea levels if they all melted at once, but even smaller rises in sea level can have considerable effects on human life. Sea level rise estimates are going to need to be revised upward. It is past the point of no return, said Eric Rignott, a lead author in one of the studies and glaciologist at the University of California, Irvine, and NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Given that the endless warnings by scientists and government agencies have been irrelevant in the face of fossil fuel industry power, it is doubtful this development in Antarctica will change much despite its significance. Now that many of the trends are impossible to reverse, the fossil fuel industry has shifted somewhat to acknowledge climate change exists, but claim it can be overcome. That was the ExxonMobil report there. It's a brave new world. Indeed it is. And that is the top 10 at 10. We're coming back. Okay. If you have a story you'd like me to feature on the top 10 at 10, please tweet me at DannisWright. Be sure to read all the stories at firedogLake.com. Thanks for watching. See you later.